Step into the arena of minds. On this channel, every move is a clash of strategy, every sacrifice a turning point, and every game a battle for glory. Watch two players push the limits of creativity and calculation, as we bring you the drama, suspense, and excitement of chess like never before. Wesley's pawn thrusts to e4, the first spear in the heart of the battlefield, claiming the center with calm confidence, as if he already knows the script of victory. Filippov's pawn mirrors to f5, a classic reply, challenging Wesley's boldness. The stage is set, symmetry, tension, and a promise of fireworks to come. Wesley's knight leaps to f3, swift and disciplined, eyeing the f5 pawn like a hawk watching its prey. The opening tension builds, move by move. Filippov's knight hops to chicks, guarding his center and saying, "Not today, my friend." A shadow of counterplay begins to form on the queenside. Wesley's bishop slides to b5, the Ruy Lopez, his trademark weapon. It's not just a move, it's a declaration of intellectual war. Filippov's pawn pushes to a6, questioning the bishop's intentions, telling it to make a decision, stand and fight or retreat. Wesley's bishop calmly retreats to a4, a graceful step back, but make no mistake, it's loaded with hidden menace and long-term pressure. Filippov's knight develops to f6, an invitation to castle, and a subtle dare for Wesley to overextend. Wesley castles Kingside. The king safely tucks behind his pawns, like a general stepping into a fortified bunker before the cannons roar. Filippov's bishop develops to e7, quiet, solid, but slightly passive. He's preparing for the storm to come. Wesley's rook slides to iyong, positioning itself behind the e-pawn, preparing to seize the open file once the center erupts. Filippov's pawn advances to b5, pushing Wesley's bishop again, expanding on the queenside with confidence and a hint of arrogance. Wesley's bishop retreats to b3, maintaining pressure on the center while dodging trouble. The bishop's diagonal gaze is as sharp as a sniper's scope. Filippov's pawn steps to d6, steady reinforcement of his central pawn, building a defensive wall against Wesley's looming plans. Wesley's pawn advances to c3, laying the groundwork for d4, a perfect setup for central domination. Filippov castles Kingside. His king finally escapes to safety, though danger lingers behind the calm facade. Wesley's pawn moves to h3, a quiet yet meaningful touch, denying any future bishop or knight from invading g4. Strategic patience at its finest. Filippov's knight slides to a5, aiming at the bishop on b3, seeking trades and space on the queenside. A small act of aggression to test the waters. Wesley's bishop retreats to c2, diffusing the threat and keeping the bishop alive for future firepower. Wesley's restraint looks almost smug. Filippov's pawn pushes to c5. The board trembles as the battle for the center finally begins. He's ready to punch back. Wesley's pawn strikes to d4. The clash of pawns ignites the center, tension crackling like electricity between grandmasters. Filippov's queen slides to 7, a calculated move, supporting his c5 pawn while keeping an eye on the kingside storm. Wesley's knight develops to d2, a move of patience, rerouting forces to strike at the right moment. He's not rushing, he's hunting. Filippov's bishop steps to e6, finally developing his light-squared bishop, dreaming of harmony, though Wesley's plans run deeper. Wesley's knight jumps to f1, a mysterious retreat, but those who know Wesley know he's just repositioning for an ambush. Filippov's knight lunges to c4, landing deep in enemy territory, threatening trades, daring Wesley to blink. Wesley's pawn pushes to b3, a challenge to the intruding knight, showing Filippov that no piece can trespass unpunished. Filippov's knight slides back to b6. The retreat looks calm, but it's a retreat nonetheless. Wesley's space begins to grow. Wesley's bishop glides to e3, elegant yet deadly, connecting rooks and fixing his aim straight at the black camp. Filippov's rook shifts to c8, a defensive maneuver, bracing the queenside for the tension soon to explode. Wesley's rook moves to cone, doubling pressure along the c-file, signaling that the center is about to burst open. Filippov's bishop develops to d7. The last piece joins the fight, forming a shield before the real storm. Wesley's knight slides to g3, creeping closer to the enemy's castle, eyes fixed on dark squares near the king. Something dangerous brews. Filippov's pawn pushes to a5, striking on the flank, searching for counterplay, but his timing might be a heartbeat too late. Wesley's bishop retreats to bone, a deceptive step backward, sharpening its diagonal toward the black king. The calm before chaos. Filippov's pawn steps to a foul, charging ahead, trying to crack open Wesley's defenses, but his plan might just open more holes. Wesley's knight leaps to h2, preparing to reroute toward g4 or f3, like a predator circling its prey. Filippov's pawn captures on b3, finally drawing blood on the queenside. The battlefield starts to burn. Wesley's pawn recaptures on b3, equilibrium restored, but the position now crackles with danger. Wesley's forces look ready to explode. Wesley's pawn advances to f6, pressing deep into Filippov's kingside territory, threatening to tear open the defenses and expose the black king to imminent danger. Filippov's bishop retreats to fight, shoring up the kingside, desperately trying to prevent Wesley's pawn from breaking the fortress, though tension crackles in the air. Wesley's queen slides to f3, coordinating with the advanced pawn and bishop, eyes fixed on weak squares around the black king, setting up tactical fireworks. Filippov's queen maneuvers to 7, defending critical points while also keeping an eye on the c4 pawn, struggling to maintain cohesion under relentless pressure. Wesley's knight leaps to f3, repositioning from g5 to reinforce central and kingside control, ready to jump into decisive tactical operations. Filippov's knight shifts to d7, retreating toward defense while aiming to block lines and support vulnerable points on the queenside. Wesley's knight moves to g5, entering enemy territory, probing the kingside, and threatening decisive combinations that could shatter black's position. Filippov's bishop captures knight on f5, removing one attacker but opening lines that Wesley is eager to exploit. The tension now almost unbearable. Wesley's pawn recaptures on f5, regaining material and opening further avenues for attack, while the kingside structure begins to crumble under pressure. Filippov's rook slides to a3, invading white's queenside space and attempting counterplay, though Wesley's coordination remains tight and menacing. Wesley retreats his bishop to c2, preserving long-range threats and keeping diagonals active while maintaining defensive balance. Filippov advances pawn from c5 to c4, fixing white's pawns and attempting to cramp space, hoping to generate counterplay along the queenside files. Wesley's pawn captures c4, resolving tension and opening lines for his rooks and queen, while Filippov's structure begins to show cracks. Filippov's rook captures pawn on c3, invading white's position and temporarily gaining a foothold, but the black king remains exposed. Wesley's knight jumps to e4, centralizing and threatening multiple tactical motifs, combining attack with piece coordination on the long diagonals and central files. Filippov's knight captures on e4, trading key attackers in a desperate attempt to relieve pressure while Wesley's initiative remains overwhelming. Wesley's bishop recaptures on e4, restoring material balance while keeping long-range pressure against black's king and controlling crucial squares. Filippov's rook captures on pawn, taking white's rook and temporarily disrupting the coordination of Wesley's heavy pieces. Wesley's rook recaptures on pawn, instantly restoring balance and reconnecting his heavy pieces, keeping pressure high and initiative firmly in his hands. Filippov's pawn advances to c3, creating a dangerous passed pawn and attempting to distract white from his kingside plan. Wesley's bishop moves to g5, pinning and eyeing critical squares, while continuing to build coordination with queen and rooks for the decisive strike. Filippov's queen moves to d6, reinforcing the center and defending against immediate threats, but the black king remains vulnerable. Wesley's queen slides to f3, aligning with the bishop and advanced pawn, preparing for unstoppable pressure and maintaining tactical threats across the board. Filippov pushes pawn from e4, a sharp advance aiming to disrupt white's coordination, though it risks opening more lines for Wesley's attack. Wesley's rook shifts to c2, defending and preparing to double on the c-file while keeping pressure concentrated on weak points. Filippov's queen moves to c5, seeking counterplay and attempting to pressure white's structure, but the initiative remains fully with Wesley. Wesley advances pawn to f6, intensifying the assault, threatening to open lines and exploit the black king's precarious position decisively. Filippov struggles to defend, maneuvering pieces to delay the collapse, while Wesley's forces tighten like a vice, restricting every escape square. Wesley's bishop and queen coordinate flawlessly, the bishop controlling diagonals, the queen eyeing the weak squares, preparing the final decisive strike. Filippov's remaining pieces attempt defensive postures, but Wesley's tactical threats and central control make counterplay nearly impossible. Wesley prepares his final maneuver, repositioning pieces to maximize pressure and exploit every weakness in black's fragmented structure. Filippov attempts last-ditch defense, but his moves are increasingly reactive, lacking the coordination to meet Wesley's well-prepared threats. Wesley's bishop moves to d5, centralizing and targeting key squares, combining attack and defense, locking black's pieces into passive positions. Filippov's queen captures on f6, trying to relieve pressure, but Wesley's coordinated attack leaves him with no safe squares. Wesley's bishop retreats to b3, realigning for the final push and maintaining dominance across critical diagonals, ready to finish the game. Filippov pushes pawn to e3, a desperate attempt to create complications, but Wesley's initiative is overwhelming and precise. Wesley's rook doubles on the c-file, coordinating with queen and bishop, preparing for the final breakthrough against the weakened black king. Filippov's queen shuffles to chicks, trying to cover weak points, but the defense is stretched thin and tactical threats loom everywhere. Wesley's queen slides to g3, reinforcing attacking lines and eyeing mating threats, orchestrating a perfectly timed assault. Wesley's pawn advances to f6, breaking through Filippov's defenses completely. The black king is trapped, and Wesley so secures a brilliant 1-0 victory. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to bring you even more exciting chess games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.